Welcome to The Explainer. We're here to break down complex stories into narratives that are super clear and hopefully pretty engaging. So, how can you be guilty of murder when you're miles and miles away from the actual crime scene? I mean, really think about that. That's the huge puzzle at the heart of this landmark case from way back in 1894. And it's a wild story involving a respected judge, a bitter family blood feud, and one single fateful telegram. Okay, let's dive in. So here's our main character, if you will, Judge John B. Talley. He's from the Ninth Judicial Circuit of Alabama. Now, this wasn't just some guy. He was a respected man of the law, sworn to uphold it. But in a crazy turn of events, he's about to find himself on the other side of the bench, facing a charge for the most serious crime there is. Okay, so before we can even get to the crime itself, we've got to understand the why. What was the motive here? And let me tell you, this one was an absolute powder keg, all stemming from a secret affair that had, tarnished a prominent family's name. The whole thing kicks off with an affair between this guy, R.C. Ross, and a woman named Annie Skelton. The problem? Well, Annie had 4 brothers, the Skelton clan, and when they found out, they were absolutely enraged. We're talking pure fury. And where does our judge fit in? Well, Judge Talley was their brother-in-law. He'd married into the family. So suddenly, he's right in the thick of it, caught in this whirlpool of family honor where revenge seemed like the only way out. You can just feel the tension building, right? I mean, this had been simmering for weeks. Ross was so scared for his life, he'd already skipped town once. But he came back, briefly, to take care of his sick wife. And that's when the Skelton's rage just boiled over. So on the morning of February 4th, Ross makes another run for it. He's in a horse-drawn hack, racing 18 miles to the town of Stevenson to catch a train. But the Skeltons, they find out, and they are hot on his tail, armed and on horseback. So you've got this dramatic chase scene, right? Ross is racing towards the Stevenson train station in this carriage. But at the exact same time, back in his hometown of Scottsboro, a totally different kind of race is happening. And this one is just as desperate. It's a race to a telegraph machine. Okay, so a relative of the fleeing man, a guy named E.H. Ross, he gets wind of the pursuit, and he knows exactly what this means. This isn't just some chase. The Skeltons are out for blood. This is a death sentence. So he does the only thing he can think of. He bolts for the telegraph office, basically praying that a machine can send a message faster than a horse can run. And this is the message he scribbles down for the telegraph operator. 4 men on horseback with guns following. Look out. That's it. 10 words. But those 10 words were everything, the difference between life and death. The whole plan hinged on this message getting to Stevenson before the Skeltons did. But here's the twist. E.H. Ross wasn't the only one in that telegraph office. Judge Talley himself was there. He'd followed him in. Now, Talley's first move was to try and physically stop the operator from sending that message, but he got talked down from that. So instead, he pivots to a new plan, a much quieter, more subtle, and frankly, a far more devastating tactic. He decides to send his own telegram. And just look at the contrast here. It's absolutely chilling. You've got Ross's message, which is literally a lifeline. And then you have Talley's message. Do not let the party warned get away. Say nothing. It's a command to cut that lifeline. He sent it to the operator in Stevenson, who happened to be a friend of his, with one goal in mind. Make sure that warning was never, ever delivered. And it worked. Judge Talley's counter-message did exactly what it was supposed to do. The warning never got to R.C. Ross. So when he arrives at the depot in Stevenson, he's completely clueless. He steps out of his carriage, right into an ambush. The Skelton brothers were waiting, and they just opened fire. He was killed right there. So the murder itself was pretty straightforward, right? We know who pulled the triggers. But the legal side of this? Oh, that was a whole other can of worms. The big question for the court became, what role did Judge Talley actually play? What crime, if any, did he commit from 18 miles down the road? The prosecution decided to go after him on a charge of aiding and abetting. Their whole argument was that by sending that second telegram, Judge Talley wasn't just a bystander. He was an active participant. He had directly assisted the Skeltons in their crime. But Talley's defense team had a simple and pretty compelling argument. Distance. He wasn't there. He didn't fire a shot. He didn't even talk to the killers during the chase. He was just a guy in a telegraph office miles away. So how on earth, they argued, could that make him guilty of murder? And this is where things get really interesting. The court brought in a brand new legal idea, something pretty revolutionary for the 1890s. They called it constructive presence. And the concept is this: you don't actually have to be physically at the crime scene to be considered legally present. If you're helping out, if you're participating from afar, that's enough. The court even came up with this brilliant analogy to explain it. They said, imagine a lookout for a robbery, sitting on a mountaintop 40 miles away, using a signal fire to warn his buddies. Is he any less guilty? Of course not. And the court said that's exactly what Tolley did. For him, the telegraph office was the mountaintop, and his telegram, that was the signal. He used the cutting-edge tech of his time to make himself a crucial part of the murder plot. So, with this new legal framework of constructive presence in hand, the Supreme Court of Alabama was ready. They were about to lay down their final and absolutely landmark judgment. And it all came down to this really clear 4-step piece of logic. 1. Talley knew the skeletons were going to kill Ross. 2. He sent his telegram with the specific intent of helping them do it. 3. His action directly caused the warning to be withheld. And 4. The result of that action was that Ross had no chance to escape or even defend himself. It directly contributed to his death. And here's the quote from the court that just nails it. They said the help given, it doesn't have to be the thing that causes the crime. It's enough if it just facilitated it, if it made it easier. I mean, think about that. Even if Ross might have died anyway, the court said Talley was guilty because his actions made the murder go more smoothly. He took away even a sliver of a chance for Ross to survive, and that was enough. The verdict? Guilty. Judge John B. Talley was convicted of murder. A man sworn to uphold the law, brought down by it. He was removed from office, his entire career, his reputation, all of it just destroyed. All because of one short telegram. You know, this case from the 1800s set this incredibly powerful precedent. It basically said that physical distance doesn't mean a thing when technology can shrink the world. And it leaves us with this huge question, one that's maybe more relevant today than it ever was back then. In our world of DMs, encrypted texts, and instant global communication, where does a crime scene truly end?